Dr. Evelyn Carter had seen her fair share of bizarre discoveries. Fossilized eggs with embryos intact, mammoth remains with fur so well-preserved she could almost hear them trumpet, but nothing quite like this. She stood at the edge of a massive excavation site in the Arctic, peering down into the jagged ice trench where the discovery had been made. Below, her team of paleontologists, biologists, and one very bored military liaison were gathered around something monstrous. Okay, so when we say big, are we talking museum exhibit big, or this thing could ruin someone's weekend big? Asked Jason, the team's forensic zoologist. Try this thing could ruin an entire ecosystem big, muttered Carter as she carefully made her way down the icy slope. The creature, encased in a thick sheath of ice, lay curled in what appeared to be a hibernation pose. It had the musculature of a primeval apex predator. Thick, sinewy limbs, claws curved like sickles, and a mouth full of serrated teeth so large they could have turned a great white shark into a chew toy. What are we even looking at? Jason crouched beside the ice, pressing a gloved hand against its surface. Looks like a mix between a T-Rex and a saber-toothed cat. Like evolution got drunk and started combining random predators for fun. More like something that was never meant to exist, Carter murmured, brushing snow from the beast's skull. The military officer assigned to their research, Captain Harris, was less impressed. So, what, another big lizard? Call me when it starts breathing fire. Carter ignored him. This creature isn't just an anomaly. It's a biological impossibility. The ice here is over 10,000 years old, and this thing shouldn't be this well preserved. There's no sign of decomposition, no cellular breakdown. It's as if it's waiting for something. Jason finished, his voice carrying just enough nervous humor to cover the genuine concern creeping in. That was the thing. It did look like it was waiting. Its eyes, buried under the frozen surface, seemed shut but not lifeless. The posture, the perfect condition of its muscles, the eerie lack of decay, it all screamed one thing. This wasn't a fossil. It was a sleeping monster. And like idiots, they were about to wake it up. The excavation team, funded by a very secret, very well-funded branch of the government, had developed a method to gradually thaw prehistoric specimens without damaging their structure. It involved carefully controlled heat applications, chemical preservatives, and, of course, a complete disregard for the laws of nature. "All right, people, let's start the process," Carter announced, ignoring the tiny but very persistent voice in her head whispering, "This is a terrible idea." As the heaters whirred to life, hot vapor curling into the frigid air, a deep crack echoed through the trench. Everyone froze. "Tell me that was the ice shifting," Jason said. Carter licked her lips, eyes locked onto the beast. The ice was shifting. More specifically, it was cracking from the inside. Then came the first twitch. It was small, almost imperceptible, like a muscle spasm in sleep. But then it happened again, and again. By the time the creature's claws flexed slow, deliberate, someone in the crew screamed. The frozen prison shattered like glass. Chaos erupted. Scientists scrambled back up the trench, shouting into radios, their breath forming panic clouds in the frigid air. Carter stumbled, landing hard against the ice, her pulse slamming against her ribs. "Tell me we have tranquilizers," she shouted. "You want to try sedating that thing?" Captain Harris barked. "Be my guest." The beast unfurled, its body uncoiling with unnatural grace, layers of prehistoric muscle rippling as it stretched. Ice and snow slid off its hide in thick sheets. It lifted its head, inhaling deeply like it had just woken from the best nap in history. Then its eyes opened. Carter had expected dull, reptilian pupils. What she saw was worse. The intelligence behind those golden irises wasn't primitive. It wasn't mindless hunger. It was the cold, calculating gaze of something that had once ruled the food chain and had just realized it was still at the top. It moved fast, faster than anything that big should have been able to. A researcher, panicked, turned to run. The beast lunged. The scream was short-lived. Captain Harris emptied an entire magazine into its side. The bullets hit. They didn't matter. That's not how bullets are supposed to work. Jason yelled, dragging Carter to her feet. "Welcome to the club of bad decisions," she snapped, yanking him toward the transport trucks. The creature, now fully free, let out a sound, something between a snarl and a guttural roar. It wasn't fear. It was frustration, like it had just woken up from a long nap, discovered the world had changed, and was now very, very annoyed about it. Then, with an effortless leap, it cleared the trench. The last thing Carter saw before she threw herself into the truck was the beast vanishing into the storm, its massive frame blending seamlessly with the whiteout. It was gone. For now. She exhaled shakily. Okay, Jason said, panting beside her. I vote we pretend this never happened. Tell that to the guy who just got eaten, Harris growled, reloading his rifle. Carter rubbed her temples. We need to track it. Harris gave her a look that suggested she had just recommended juggling live grenades. You want to go after that thing? If it disappears, we don't know what happens next. Yeah, we do, Jason said grimly. It eats things, a lot of things, and then keeps going until it's the only thing left. Carter set her jaw. Then we better find it first. Somewhere, deep within the Arctic wilderness, Earth's oldest killer was moving. And it was hungry. The asteroid struck just before dawn, carving a molten scar into the Canadian wilderness. It wasn't the kind of impact that made the news. No city-leveling explosion, no world-ending catastrophe. Just a quiet, unassuming crash in the middle of nowhere. The kind of thing that would have gone unnoticed, if not for the way it made everything near it wrong. The first to find it was a moose. A massive bull, thick with winter weight, lumbered cautiously toward the smoldering crater. Animals were supposed to fear fire, but some instinct, some deep, buried curiosity, kept it moving forward. It stopped at the edge, nostrils flaring, breath steaming in the cold air. The egg cracked open. The moose never had time to react. One moment it was staring. The next, something lashed out, a slithering mass of darkness, impossibly fast. There was a wet, sucking noise, and the moose was gone. Just gone. Not even bones left behind. A few miles away, Captain Harris stared at the GPS in his truck and sighed. Tell me again why we're chasing monsters in the middle of the goddamn Arctic. Dr. Evelyn Carter, seated beside him, didn't look up from her notes. Because if we don't, something bigger and meaner will find it first. Jason, slumped in the back seat, raised a hand. Counterpoint. Maybe we let it find something else? Preferably something far away. Like Russia. Or the moon. We're tracking it, Carter said, ignoring him. That's the job. Harris grunted, gripping the wheel tighter. I signed up to shoot terrorists, not dinosaurs. You tried shooting it, Jason pointed out. It went great. Right up until the part where it didn't care and ate Steve. A long, guilty silence followed. Steve had not, in fact, made it. The radio crackled. Harris reached for it, eager for any excuse to stop thinking about what prehistoric murder looked like up close. Command, this is Harris. You're cutting in? The voice on the other end sounded tense. Change of plans. We need you to reroute to Sector 12. Something hit there last night. Possible biological event. Carter frowned. You're saying another one? Negative. Not one of yours. This came from up. The truck was silent. Then Jason let out a slow breath. Oh, good? Because one unstoppable murder lizard wasn't enough. Let's add aliens. It took them 3 hours to reach the site. By then, it was too late. The snow was wrong. That was the first thing they noticed. Patches of it were moving, writhing like something alive burrowed just beneath the surface. The trees nearby were stripped bare, bark peeled away in long, curling ribbons. Black organic residue clung to every surface, pulsing faintly. It smelled like burnt hair and raw meat. Then they saw the bodies. Harris stopped the truck so fast Jason nearly ate the dashboard. Well, Jason said, voice a little too high. That's a thing. The bodies had been a team of scientists. Their gear was still intact, but their flesh had been changed. Stretched. Fused together, reshaped into something nightmarish. One had elongated limbs, like something had tried to turn him into a spider halfway through a scream. Another's torso had collapsed inward, a gaping, circular hole where ribs should have been. Carter swallowed hard. What the hell does that? A wet, clicking sound answered. The 3 of them turned. At first, it looked like a shadow. a trick of the dim morning light. Then it moved, unfolding itself from the wreckage, limbs stretching in ways that no earthly creature should. Its body shimmered, color shifting and distorting as it adapted to its surroundings, like a living mirage. Then it opened its mouth, if that was even the right word. Rows of needle-like teeth. No lips, just an endless, yawning maw, stretching far wider than its head should allow. "Okay," Jason whispered. "I vote this one goes to the moon." Harris grabbed his rifle. The creature lunged. Chaos. Bullets sparked against frozen bark, useless. The thing moved like water, flowing around obstacles, limbs folding and reforming in fractions of a second. It slammed into Harris with the force of a wrecking ball, sending him skidding across the ice. Carter grabbed Jason and ran. "Not to be a pessimist," Jason panted, "but I'm feeling real pessimistic right now." "Shut up and keep moving." The alien moved faster. They barely made it to the tree line before it was on them. Carter turned just in time to see it unfurl another limb. No, a whip, something bone-white and glistening, and lash out. The ground beside them exploded, showering them with ice. Jason grabbed the first thing he could find, a rock, and hurled it. "Eat this, you extraterrestrial bastard." The rock bounced harmlessly off its face. It did not look amused. Just as it prepared to strike again, a new sound split the air, low, guttural, furious. A sound that did not belong in the modern world. The alien hesitated. Carter's stomach dropped. "Oh no!" The forest erupted. A blur of muscle and fury slammed into the alien with all the force of a semi-truck, sending it careening through the trees. Snow and debris exploded outward. A moment later, a familiar shape stepped into view, shaking the ice from its hide. Golden eyes, blood-stained claws, a mouthful of prehistoric teeth. Earth's ancient killer had found his competition. For a moment, nothing moved. Then the alien shifted, adapted. Its form rippled, muscles expanding, claws elongating to match its new opponent. The ancient predator exhaled, something dangerously close to amusement glinting in its eyes. Then it charged. Jason, still half buried in snow, looked at Carter. "Okay, new plan." "What?" He pointed to the two monsters tearing into each other with world-ending force. "We let them kill each other, and then we never talk about this again." Carter watched as the forest was turned into a battlefield, primeval strength clashing with something not of this earth. She swallowed hard. "I don't think we're that lucky." The forest was no longer a forest. It was a war zone. The ancient predator and the alien beast clashed like forces of nature, their battle sending shockwaves through the ice and snow. Trees shattered like twigs beneath their blows. The ground cracked and trembled under the sheer force of their struggle. And Carter, Jason, and Harris? They were crouched behind a half-destroyed truck, trying very hard not to die. Jason peeked over the hood. "So, who are we rooting for?" Carter didn't answer. She was too busy watching, trying to understand how anything could move like that. The alien was impossibly fast, shifting its form mid-strike, adapting on the fly. One moment it had talons, the next something worse, something with too many edges, too many joints bending the wrong way. It lashed out with limbs that weren't there a second ago, stabbing, slashing. But the ancient predator? It didn't adapt. It didn't change. It endured. It took the alien's blows, let them land, and then punished every mistake. It fought like something that had ruled its world once and had no intention of giving up its throne. Harris reloaded his rifle, though they all knew it wouldn't help. "You think either of them cares about us?" Jason scoffed. "Buddy, we're ants right now. We could all be on fire, and I doubt they'd notice." As if to prove his point, the alien beast suddenly twisted, wrenching free from the predator's iron grip. It scuttled backward, limbs reforming into something leaner, deadlier. Its skin shifted again, flickering between shades like a living chameleon. Then for the first time it screamed. The sound was wrong. It wasn't just a noise. It was a weapon. Carter felt it in her skull, behind her eyes, a pressure that made her want to claw at her own ears. Jason actually did, doubling over, hands pressed against his head. The ancient predator stumbled. Just for a second, the alien struck. It launched forward, spear-like limbs driving toward the predator's exposed throat. The speed was terrifying, a perfect execution, except for one small problem. The predator had let it happen. At the last possible moment, it twisted, jaws snapping open. The alien's limb shot forward, only to be caught between teeth built to crush bone. The predator bit down, a sickening crunch, a shriek of agony. The alien thrashed, trying to break free, but it was too late. The predator didn't let go. It clamped harder, wrenching its head to the side. Something tore. Black, viscous ichor sprayed across the snow. Jason, still shaking, peeked up from the ground. Oh, wow. That was, I'm gonna be dreaming about that one. The alien stumbled back, one of its limbs half destroyed, dark ichor steaming in the frigid air. It wasn't dead, but it was hurt. Badly. Harris adjusted his grip on the rifle. If we're gonna do something, now's the time. Carter hesitated. Do something like what? We got explosives in the truck. Jason blinked. Wait, we do. Harris gave him a look. It's a military truck. Jason threw his hands up. And yet, no one thought to start with that. Another roar cut through the air. The ancient predator, smelling weakness, advanced. But the alien wasn't done yet. It reared back, its whole body convulsing, shifting into something thicker, bulkier. Its wounds sealed, muscle reforming right before their eyes. Then it slammed its limbs into the ground, and the earth collapsed. The ground beneath them split open, snow and ice giving way to a sinkhole of death. Carter barely had time to yell before the world dropped out from under her. She hit the ice hard, the wind knocked from her lungs. She rolled, coughing, feeling the cold sink into her bones. Somewhere nearby, Jason groaned, muttering something about regretting his entire life. Above them, the alien and the predator had vanished into the chasm. Carter struggled to her feet. They were in some kind of underground cavern, a vast glacial tunnel stretching in all directions. And ahead, at the far end, movement. The battle wasn't over. It had just gone underground. She could see them, locked together in combat once more, claws and teeth flashing in the dim blue light of the ice. The predator had the advantage here. The confined space meant the alien couldn't shift and maneuver as easily. Harris shoved a duffel bag into her arms. Here, C4. Enough to bury whatever's left of them. Carter stared at the bag, then at him. You want to collapse the whole cave? Unless you've got a better idea. Jason groaned, dragging himself upright. Okay, wait. Hold on. If we do this, what happens if our guy wins? He's not exactly a team player. They all paused. Carter exhaled. Then we make sure he stays buried, too. The plan was simple. Set the charges, get out, and let the ice do what bullets couldn't. But simple didn't mean easy. The cavern trembled with each impact as the two monsters fought, oblivious to the humans scrambling along the edges. Carter set the first charge, then another. Jason nearly dropped one and spent a solid minute panicking about whether it would explode on contact. They had just placed the last one when the predator threw the alien. It hit the ice with enough force to send a shockwave through the cavern. Cracks spiderwebbed along the walls. Harris didn't hesitate. Asterisk now, asterisk. Carter hit the detonator. The world exploded. Ice, rock, and snow collapsed in an avalanche of destruction. The roar of the explosion was deafening, a tidal wave of frozen death swallowing everything in its path. The last thing Carter saw was the ancient predator turning, locking eyes with her just before the ice came crashing down. Then, darkness. She woke up to cold. Not the biting, skin-tearing cold of the Arctic, but something gentler. Snowflakes drifted down from the newly formed crater above. The cavern was gone. The monsters were gone. Jason coughed beside her. So, did we win? Carter sat up slowly, wincing. She scanned the ruins of the battlefield. No movement. No sound. Just ice and silence. Harris pulled himself from the snow, grim but satisfied. They're not getting out of that. Carter wanted to believe him. Jason stretched, groaning. So, what do we tell people? Because we saved the world from a prehistoric murder lizard and an alien horror sounds insane. Harris snorted. We don't tell them anything. Jason blinked. Wait, really? No medals? No secret government check? Nothing? Carter patted him on the back. Congratulations. You get to live. Jason sighed. Yeah, I was hoping for something more taxable. Harris turned away, already reaching for his radio. Let's go. We're done here. Carter took one last look at the ruins below. Nothing moved. Nothing stirred. And yet, somewhere, deep beneath the ice, something waited.